John Kelly walked away from his snooker coach feeling as empty as the cue that he had been playing with. He had noticed that his game had been deteriorating for a few months, and he was starting to realise that he was leaning to the left while taking his shots, which meant the cue always hit his chest on the follow-through. John no longer looked like a snooker player because of all the basic shots that he misjudged, and the fans were starting to lose interest in him because of his poor form. Just 7 months ago, when John had turned 21, he lifted the World Championship trophy at the Crucible for the first time and felt on top of the world. With all the people calling his name and the cameras taking pictures, he did not want the night to end. While he was being interviewed, he enjoyed all the attention he was receiving, but the prize money was the best part of being crowned world champion. Soon after leaving a deposit on a mansion in Mayfair, London, his snooker started to go downhill. This could not have happened at a more inconvenient time, because John had taken out a substantial mortgage to purchase the house, but now he was not sure if he would ever earn enough money to repay it. John had been finding it difficult to sleep because he could not stop thinking by his escalating debts from keeping up his expensive lifestyle. He used to be able to afford top quality food and champagne, but now he was not winning matches and had no money, yet he still insisted on buying what he wanted. John woke up early the next morning after another restless night and drove his Ferrari to the snooker club where he practiced. Arthur Miller, John's coach, welcomed him with a worried look that made him feel uncomfortable. John had been ranked at number 4 in the world after winning the World Championship, but because of a number of poor performances, he had been slipping down the rankings faster than the car he drove. If you don't improve your performance in the next 2 weeks of the UK Championship in York, then you will be out of the top 16, Arthur reminded John. John nodded nervously because he knew that this would mean he would no longer automatically qualify for future tournaments. John thought about telling Arthur that he was never sure if he would ever find top form again, but he decided that it was best not to make any negative comments because it would only make Arthur angry. While John was practicing that day, his leaning to the left whilst playing was more exaggerated than ever. After playing many disastrous shots, John stood up and walked away from the table, completely drained of confidence. Arthur went over to John and gave him a look that was completely different from any that he had seen previously. "Take off your waistcoat," said Arthur, "because there might be a problem with your bat that is concealing." John took his waistcoat off immediately, feeling curious about whether Arthur's guess was correct. They were both shocked when they noticed that John was unable to stand up straight. He felt fine, despite the fact that he was leaning a long way to the left. "You urgently need to go to see a doctor to find out if this problem can be sorted before the UK Championship," said Arthur, with uncertainty drowning out his usual confidence. "I'll phone a doctor as soon as I'm home," said John. "I don't think there's any point in carrying on this session." Arthur nodded and John walked outside solemnly before driving home. For the rest of that day, John could not help being wrapped up in the trouble that had arisen. He had almost no money because he had not won a match for months and was relying on debt to put food on his plate. John could not stop thinking about his back what the doctor might tell him, and because he was only 21, he was scared that a career which had just started might be over already. John phoned the doctor that night to make an appointment for the following morning, but the thought of what he might say tormented him. In the morning, John parked his car outside a doctor's surgery, still feeling worried about what he might be told. He was greeted warmly by the receptionist, but his mood was icy. After living for so long in a fantasy land where he played snooker all day and went home to a mansion, John was nervous about facing the reality of his problems.